Thank you for joining me. One of the first things that we need to have are a different variety of a designer series paper and cardstock. And what I'm going to do is I've just pulled in some of the old stuff that I have. Also, what you do require is something a little bit stronger than DSP. So these are the inserts from a lot of DSP from Stampin' Up. I do keep a lot of them. And what we do is we are going to be using this as our outside. So what we want to do, you can cut it down to whatever size you want, but I'm going to be using a book about the size of 8.5 or 8 by 6. So this is just a sample. So as you can see, this is 6 inches plus another half an inch for spiral binding or hole punching. If you have a book already, this would work really well, but I'm going to be creating it right from scratch. When you're done, you may want to consider taking it to either a UPS store or Staples and just coil binding it yourself. In the meantime, for this, I'm going to be using a basic hole punch, and I will be securing it with ribbons. So if you look, the working area is 6 inches by 8. You can always do whatever size that you want, so it is going to end up like that. So what you want to do, first we are going to cut down our outside of our book. So I've got a little bit thicker kind of cardstock, and I'm going to be cutting it, even though it's going to be 6 by 8, I'm going to cut a little bit extra, and it's going to be, maybe I'm going to do 7 by 8. So we need to do the back, which is one of these, and the front. So I'm going to do 2 of these at 7 inches by 8. So let's cut those down. Also, when you do cutting, you are going to do that for all DSP and cardstock that you are going to be placing in. So you want them all the same. So I'm going to be choosing a variety of DSP and cardstock, and I will cut it down to the same size, which is 7 by 8. Okay, so we got that cut. Keep these aside so that we can use them a little later. Okay, what we want to do is I'm actually going to cover the back and the front of my book with a variety of DSP. I'm just going to glue it down to make it a little bit thicker. Okay, so let's do that. Now I have 4 pieces of designer series paper, and I'm going to be using that as my base for the front and back that I'm going to be gluing it on. So you can use different colors. It is totally up to you. So I'm going to design that and with the front and back. So I've decided to use the same type of DSP on all portions. Okay, so I'm cutting it to 7 inches by 8. And what I'm going to do next is I am going to glue these on the front and back of each of those pieces of cardstock that I have here. Okay. So now I have them both covered. What I can do is I can punch holes in that, and I want the holes always to be in the same spot. So what we're going to do, I'm going to use this as my main template. And so I have done the one, and I'm going to hold it in, and I'm going to repeat it in the same spot. There we go. Now if I line it up, it will be on all the way. Now if you want to cover this up, you can either cut it off or take a little marker and just do a little bit of like covering it over like that. Now I need to do that for some of the other papers that I'm going to put in the center there. So I want to repeat this with a whole bunch of other designer series paper that I'm using. Now I have already set up the pattern that I want to use. So what I have is one piece of cardstock, and then what I have is designer series paper in between. Now because it is not double-sided, what I'm going to be doing is I chose a DSP on the other side, and I'm going to be gluing these two together. And then as you turn the page, I again have a cardstock, and then I'm going to have DSP placed together, cardstock. Now this one has a bit of a design to it, and it is the same on both sides on color, so I'm going to leave it like that. And like I said, in between I'm going to place a designer series paper and glue them together. And these will all be cut down to 7 inches by 8. So there we go. They're all in the fall colors that I'm choosing, and so in between. So I'm going to add another one in here, and that will help build my book. So this one in the center is actually vellum, and I'm going to pop that in between, and then it ends on the cardstock again. So all of these will be cut down to 8 by 7 inches. Let's get that started. So I'm going to mark these all in the same template all the way across and do that for the whole package and punch them out. Okay, so let's get started. Look at that, our book is coming together. Okay, so that's all punched out now. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that as my book opens, it doesn't fold in a different spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score each one of these pages at the same distance from the hole. So I'm going to do that for each one. There we go, they're all scored, and the next step what I'm going to do is glue together the two pieces of designer series paper that so there is no white on the back. Okay, so let's glue those all together. There we go. Now we have our book all pretty well put together. All the pages are now glued, and all we can do is we can decorate it with different pockets and stuff like that. I can add my ribbon along there. So let's get that started. So I'm going to use a little bit of a paper clip, fill that in, put that in, tie it in, kind of like a sewing needle.